Let's talk about love. Let's talk about this story posted by Shoe on Head. Maybe she made a video about it, but she tweeted about this, and it's got a ton of retweets. And I read it, and I facepalmed, and I think it's a good time to have a discussion about dating and the culture war, because as many of you may have discovered, dating within the culture war has become pretty treacherous. What's the word? No, not treacherous. Oh, well, I don't know what the right word is, but dangerous in a sense. Not like you're going to get hurt or anything, but, you got to navigate these certain boundaries, and you don't know what strange views an individual might hold because, listen, I think most of the people who watch my videos are kind of normal people, right? Not racists, not sexist, kind of just, look, the comment section on my video is kind of crazy for a lot of the time. But I think most people who watch my videos are probably, similar in opinion to me, and it's kind of like, don't be a dick, be nice to people, be respectful, we're all humans, we're all in this together kind of mentality. But there is a expanding faction of identitarian leftists who hold psychotic views, and June has this wonderful thread where she says, "Feminist man thanks Anita Sarkeesian for realizing a woman he's on a date with is not feminist enough. Also known as the story of how one woman dodged a bullet." Bravo, June. But let's read the story. So that information on this guy is blocked out. It says, "At Feminist Frequency ruined my date the other day in the best possible way." A thread. He says, "Met this woman on at Hinge, and we hit it off. She is a music teacher, and I love music and work with kids myself. We seem to be getting along well. I asked her out. We were going to go to the nature center, but the weather turned, so we hit the local video arcade with vintage games. We had a good time. It wasn't earth-shattering, but good enough to merit a second date. We decided to get ice cream after work one day. We got our ice cream and walked around and talked for about an hour. The plaza we were in had a movie theater in it that we both frequent, so naturally TV and movies came up. She mentioned Frasier, and I told her I often rewatch Cheers and Frasier, and that I love old shows, especially Cheers. I then began to talk about a specific episode of Cheers, my favorite episode in which one of Sam's baseball buddies writes a book and comes out as gay in it. Sam openly supports him, and the men at the bar become concerned that the bar will become a gay bar. Diane challenges them and says that gay men come in their bar all the time, but they just don't know it. The men are adamant that they would know a gay guy if they saw one. She tells them there are two gay men there, and if they can tell her who they are, she'll be quiet. The men go on and make complete fools of themselves, using outdated, even for the time, stereotypes of gay men to try and determine who it is, and they are proven wrong in the end. It was a powerful social commentary that is still relevant today, almost 30 years later." Look at it. Yeah, okay, let's continue. "My date was not as interested in it as I was, so I explained that because I watched Feminist Frequency and the Tropes versus Women videos as they came out, and I was in college, I developed a critical eye using feminist critique, and that's why I liked that episode so much. It's already begun to turn. No, you've been indoctrinated by a strange fringe ideology that most normal humans don't believe in. And you can clearly see my date was not interested in it as I was. Yes, it was just an episode. It was educational. It's fine. It's one episode from the entire series, not existence. But here we go. She then asked me if viewing movies and TV that way ruined it for me. It was an odd question, one that I know is lobbied at the women in Feminist Frequency constantly. When I told her that it didn't ruin it, just made me view it differently, she was not about it. I mentioned some of the topics of the Tropes versus Women videos, not even daring to go into the other amazing things those women do with that organization, and she was getting visibly frustrated. I didn't even tell the content, just the topic. I was trying not to force my opinion. Listen. First of all, Feminist Frequency, I haven't watched most of their videos. I know very little about them, and I know that she is somehow relevant with like Gamergate because she talked about video games. I do know, because I was pointed towards some videos to check out, that she did misrepresent, and that's me being polite, a lot of the things, at least in some of her videos. But I also want to say more to the point. I think this guy is signaling to his date. He's trying to show her how woke and feminist he is, probably because in his mind, he believes that this is what people actually think. They don't. Regular people are normal and just want to watch Game of Thrones. Regular people don't care if a shoe is white. Adidas actually had to pull a shoe, if you saw my video this morning. So this guy is probably trying to, he's trying to pull the feminist ally, sneaky abuser type thing. It's not working. And for some reason, he's bragging about it. But anyway, let's continue. At one point, I said something like, it depends on the context of the game. Or, I'm sorry, he said, I didn't mention the topic. I was trying not to force my opinion. At one point, I said something like, it depends on the context of the game. If you have a war game and a woman is running around in a bikini and shooting guns, does that really make sense? She said something like, well, was the character designed to be arousing? First, I will also, or I'm sorry, I don't say first, whatever. I will add to this. I also think it's silly that you play certain games and women run around in bikinis. Especially, I agree that certain games can do better if they want to attract a wider audience. For instance, if you want to make a game that is about some kind of futuristic war or something, and you have female characters in it, the women don't need to be wearing bikinis. They can be wearing stylish, cool outfits that look also functional for the character in terms of development. Like, wouldn't it be weird if you watched a movie, like a James Bond movie, and the women who are, like, working in MI6 or whatever, MI5 or whatever, were all walking around, instead of walking around in suits like they normally would, they're wearing bikinis? Like, sure, we understand Bond had his women. There are women who are designed to be beautiful and attractive. Totally fine. There are also men in this way, too. But imagine if, you know, like Katniss Everdeen in the Hunger Games was running around in a bikini the whole movie. You'd be like, kind of weird, you know, you're trying to fight for your survival. So I can understand that. But I can also understand the follow-up question. Was the character designed to be arousing? Look, sometimes products are made for certain people. And the analogy I often use is ice cream. If you're selling chocolate ice cream, you're not selling dinner, you're selling dessert. We're not always going to, listen, some games aren't designed for everybody. They're designed to sell to a specific person for a specific reason. So it is fine, in my opinion, to have games where women are obnoxiously dressed and so are men. Sure. You know, I never played Gears of War, but has anyone ever criticized how the guys in Gears of War are all gigantic, monstrous muscle men? Like, come on. We know it's unrealistic. Anyway, apparently his date wasn't having it. It was going badly for both of us. This was a huge philosophical difference. Yes, but also an intellectual difference. Is that him saying he's dumb? We thought of the world in drastically different ways. There was a point in our conversation she was mid-sentence and just stopped and said, okay. Then we started talking about The Last Jedi, and there was no going back. She hated Luke. I loved him. It was over. The end. No way to save that budding relationship. We haven't spoken since. It was a week ago. Right. You're done. Clearly, I love, there was an intellectual difference. Yes, normal people watch Game of Thrones. Normal people like playing normal video games, and normal people don't get so butthurt over seemingly innocuous things because you watched some YouTube video in college. I certainly hope people don't take all of my videos as seriously as this guy took those videos. Look, I have ideas, I have opinions. I try to base them on facts. My opinions, most of my videos are based on a set of data I'm looking at, not on arbitrary things that I've read somewhere. But this guy, I think what ends up happening is you see these viral videos, you know, at the time I think Tropes versus Women, like they were doing fairly well, hundreds of thousands of views. He sees this and he was in college. So he's surrounded by a bunch of young people who are trying to fit in. And so they start virtue signaling to each other, then creating this circular system where they play a game of telephone, all believing this is the majority. So I talk about in terms of, you know, Twitter bias and journalism, people who are in a small bubble of like 7 people who only follow each other develop this weird, unique view of the world. And I'll give you a really funny example. I knew 3 guys when I was about like 21 years old. They were foreign exchange. They were European who came to the U.S. for college. There was a French guy, a Spanish guy, and an Italian guy. English was their second language. Their first language was their respective language. They only hung out with each other because what they had in common was that they were all from Europe, understood certain things about Europe, not, you know, and they didn't know a lot of people and they went to school together. So they had close proximity to each other. They started using a weird kind of their own version of English because English was the only language they could communicate in. But it was their second language. They started using very strange words like defenestrate. And so we'd be hearing them talk. And it was almost like hearing not English. Because they only ever hung out with each other, they created their own weird English. It was hilarious. Like, we could still talk to them. Obviously, they still understood English. But it was weird. The words they chose to use with each other were words people would never use. When they would try and talk to us, they would use some of these weird words, and we'd be confused, like, dude, what? So the point I'm trying to make is this dude is effectively doing that, right? He's in his weird feminist frequency bubble. He starts spreading these weird ideas, not realizing you're a weirdo. Like, you're a weird dude. And as June said, very, very humorously, the story of how a woman dodged a bullet. But it gets good because Mr. the Billy the Fridge had the best response to the story. He said, he must have skipped the Sarkeesian vids on mansplaining. Mic drop. That was perfect. Bravo, Mr. the Fridge. Expertly done. I don't want to go on too long with this, so I'm going to just pop over to Cassandra Fairbanks' response. She said, male feminists are the absolute worst. My God. Imagine being a man and complaining your female date isn't feminist enough. Or being the poor woman who ended up on a date with that loser. And then she posted this fabulous image. It's a Venn diagram. Male feminist allies are red, sexual predators are blue, and there's a big purple circle. I'm out. I got more videos coming up in a few minutes. I hope you had a laugh. I'll see you in a second.